All right, family. Peace to everybody waiting in the chat patiently. All right, we are now live. Oh, it's going to be a good show tonight, y'all. It's going to be a good show tonight. You see the cowboy I got with me here. Y'all see
Look,
the cowboy I got with me
44
here.
Pistol Pablo. That's the name tonight.
Pistol Pablo tonight.
Yeah, Pistol
Oh
Pablo.
man.
Fofos. Going
Let's
in.
let's get comfortable. I'm hit that like button. Let me get to a quick commercial. And we'll be right back. All right, family. So get comfortable, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. We're learning about some black mystery, they say Black Mystery Month,
Yeah,
blue pill, black myth story. There's so many
myth story.
days.
It's the
Yeah.
black myth story. So we're gonna get to the mythos underlying this narrative. And boy, do we have an explosive one tonight.
Whew, it's gonna be beautiful, y'all.
Yes,
Let's
indeed.
celebrate. Let's celebrate our life real quick, y'all. Be right back. Let's celebrate our life real quick.
Yes.
Sometimes I wake up in the morning feeling stressed. Sometimes I wake up feeling like I never slept. Sometimes I don't wanna wake up cause I'm depressed. But today when I woke up I felt blessed. Yes, I'm thankful I could breathe. Thankful for the breath, thankful for the heart beating in my chest. Superman S. I fell in love with life, not afraid of death. Fell in love with life, fell in love with sex. Sinner, I confess. I love my gold, melanated flesh. It absorbs, it protects like a bulletproof vest. I kill all my demons and then I ask who's next. I'm the son of Osiris, I'm coming for the suit test. Suplex, God is blood, God is great. I'm thankful for the food on my plate. I just ate mashed potatoes and steak. Victory is sweet, come get a taste. The flavor in your air is baked Mac with the base. Been broke, can't break, got money in the bank. Every day someone dies, someone's born. Get a cake, set a date, get a suit, get a tie, get a date. God is always on time, never late. Celebrate, get in shape, meditate, levitate, elevate. Men destroy, men create, real women menstruate. And the sound I make emanates my light. And the song I sing celebrates my life. Celebrate your life, celebrate your life. Celebrate today, celebrate tonight. Celebrate your life, celebrate your life. Everything was dark, God invented light. Everybody celebrate your life, celebrate your life. Celebrate today, celebrate tonight. Accepted all my wrongs, celebrate the right. When I die, celebrate my death, see what heaven's got. I feel glorious, victorious. The medal dangle on my...
All right, all right. Without further ado, let me welcome to the platform. This is this brother's first time here. We've had Pablo, we've had Blue Pill, we had Pope Pablo, but
Yes.
Pistol Pablo. This is the first time Pistol Pablo.
Yes, it's the first time Pistol Pablo has wrote up to the chat. You know what I'm saying?
Man, welcome to the show, Pistol Pablo, my brother. My
Indeed.
brother.
Indeed.
Oh man.
Wanted to be here.
I know this is a blue pill. You know how I know this is a blue pill? Because it's clear. Your screen is clear. I can see you. So I know blue pill screen is never clear. So I know this is somebody different. This is crystal clear right here. I don't know what you got going on tonight, Pistol, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Blue, welcome,
Yeah.
welcome, brother. Welcome.
Peace, man. It's an honor to be here. I've heard so much about the platform and in my travels. There's only one wish that I put out to the universe on these open things, and I said one day I want to touch down on Black Magic 363, and give them some of this information about this cross-continental country of ours, where we have uses of terms like cowboys and country music and things of that nature, but you got to keep your ear to the ground, and the ground is where the truth resonates. You can't bury it. It resonates at a very thin layer somewhere near the earth in the dirt, and that's where I have matriculated it from. I've mined the resources, I've dusted them off. I just got back from Arizona, so I brought the gems directly here to the A. What can I say? Let's get it on here today. Hallelujah. Pistol Pablo is here to serve. Let's go.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be beautiful, y'all. Real quick, I want to give a shout out. We got an amazing researcher in our community. While Blue, you gonna be switching computers, Blue?
Yes, I am. Give me 1 second.
All right. While Blue do that, I want to read the people something real quick. Shout out to this brother named Adika Butler. And while Blue switching, because Blue got a presentation for y'all tonight. It's gonna be an amazing night. But while Blue gets his presentation together, shout out to Adika Butler, known the brother for a lot of years. Um, from my Brooklyn days. Let me see. Let me read y'all because we have a very. If you looked at a lot of people that look at the African American experience or what the way they view African, what we call African Americans, that's that name within itself. I understand why a lot of us don't like it, but who you call African American, a lot of people view us from a post crack epidemic, post crack cocaine type of people. A lot of people don't know some of the amazing achievements that we've made and that we've contributed to this country that everybody uses on a day-to-day basis. Music people enjoy. We've been lied to so much. I mean, you just don't know things that we have done unless you dig deep. And that's what was beautiful about documentaries like the brother Tariq Nasheed's Hidden Colors. It gave people wonderful visuals to understand exactly who we are. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to that brother. I seen he did a show on Beyonce and country music I think I just seen the episode this morning, matter of fact. So shout out to that brother right there. He's been putting in work for a while. But let me read y'all. We're gonna have a great show. Let me read y'all this article. Since we're talking about cowboy culture, country music. Two things that majority of our people think have nothing to do with quote unquote black people. But let me read y'all this. Since we talking about music. Shout out to Adika Butler. Let me read this to y'all. All right. The Grand Architect, Rosetta Tharpe. I hope I'm reading her name right. Let's read this right here. March 20th, 1915 to October 9th, 1973 is arguably one of the most important figures in the history of modern music that so many have never heard of. Y'all see this beautiful sister here? Those who truly know the history of American music have labeled her the undisputed queen of rock and roll. She is far more deserving of that title than the other manufactured icon who kicked the bucket last year. However, Tharpe was more than the queen of rock and roll. She was his grand architect who took the building blocks of rock's body and made it into an art form that influenced Little Richard. And y'all know who Little Richard was. He put everybody on. Chuck Berry and other rock pioneers. The fiery Piscean born on the cusp of Aries was making waves on the music scene as far back as the Prohibition era of the 1920s, when gangsters peddled firewater to the streets of America's cities. Tharpe's up-tempo rhythms were often filled with sentiments of love, God, and sex. She fused the blues, gospel, and country to forge an exciting new sound that the world had never heard. Her life story reflects that of one who stood at the crossroads of complementary energies, the masculine and the feminine. Tharpe was a rock guitar innovator before, you heard that? Before Jimi Hendrix. We heard of Jimmy. We all know about Jimmy. She's the guitar innovator before Jimi Hendrix was even born. It's time she got her just due through a major feature film that will make her legend common knowledge. Salute to the grand architect, Rosetta Tharpe Ashe. One magnificent sister, does not get mentioned in terms of history. Shout out to Adika Butler. We call this Black History Month. Let's really learn about some Black history. Let's not just learn about slavery. Let's really learn. Welcome in Blue, back Blue. I had to, while you got your presentation together, I had to share a slide for my brother Adika. He put up that slide earlier on Instagram. Yeah. So Blue, man, welcome, man. You see what's going on. You see the hate Beyonce's getting. They say she's somewhere she don't belong. They saying she's getting outside of territory. They don't like it when blacks get into that country lane, Blue. But little do a lot of people know. From what I'm hearing through the grapevine, blacks created country music as well as rock and roll and a lot of other genres. So I'm here to you the researcher, man. Let me know what's going on.
Blacks created this country, so how could blacks not create country music?
I love how you say it. You say
it. Let's walk this backwards, because this is a two-part conversation and observation. It's about country music and it's also about cowboys. Country music is telling a story, right? Country music comes from folklore. You need a story to tell in order for it to be a folklore tradition. In order for there to be music, there has to be a story for one to tell. So we have to qualify what the story the country music is telling. the story the country music tells, or the mythos or the folklore the country music tells, comes from the open plains of what's considered to be the United States, right? These
Right.
stories were forged in the open plains and the terrains that were uncharted in this country. There are things that open up this country for exploration, for which we become involved, and our history cannot be scrubbed away from, because it's not, we cannot say that it's correct to say that we have been erased from history. It can be correct to say that we have not been told or reported history in a context in which is, conducive. We haven't asked the right questions. The history is laying right there. It's buried
Right.
in the shallow grave. When I did my research, it's not like I had to dig deep,
Right.
right? So the first thing we need to do is correct the terms, right? The reason that we were called cowboys, that term comes from the fact that after quote unquote slavery, right,
Mm-hmm.
in Texas in particular, and it was very serendipitous how I got the phone call from you. You called
Mm-hmm.
me. I was on Amtrak going cross country from Arizona
Yeah,
to
you told me.
Atlanta, um, from the A to the A, from the 33rd parallel on the western side of this planet to the 33rd parallel on the eastern side. And as a consequence of that trip, I had to go across this country and go through Texas. I had to go through the country land. And I had
Right.
to travel 2 days through Texas, which itself is a country.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
prior to that, I was in Arizona. And then when I was in Arizona, I crossed the border and I went to Mexico, right?
right.
It wasn't complicated. I was in Mexico kicking it with the hombres who call me Snoop Dogg, you know what I'm saying? Because they know what this blowout be about. So, bro, like I came back with a national idea.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You know, it's honor family, your safety, and I can't even say your safety. I say that there's an illusion that there's a fictional place where they set up a post and it's supposed to separate a continent. All of this shit is Mexico. You
Mm.
feel what I'm saying? At least in the West and in the South, like Texas, when you go through that land and it's just an open expanse with nobody there, I'm talking for days. I ain't talking for miles. I'm talking for days, literally
Nobody for days.
for days. And I'm on a train,
Right.
so we're not driving. We're blowing at considerable miles per hour, my G. And it's just open terrains and open plains, and it's no one there. But in my mind, in my myth story, I was like, what would we look like on these open plains and terrains? Because you got to be a certain type of individual, right, in order to really relish in these environments and conquer the terrain. The European has a three-part flex about his conquest of America, right? And this is
Mm.
according to the mind of Jordan Peterson himself.
Mm-hmm.
He said it's a tripartite flex. They
Mm-hmm.
conquered the terrain,
Mm-hmm.
they conquered the tribes, and they conquered the theos, right? The God of those people,
Statement.
because he understood that man's relationship to nature is always intertwined with his relationship to God. So they're like, whoever lives on these plains and these environments and still has a great relationship with the creator, they got a different type of creator and a different type of relationship. You know what I'm saying? And they really couldn't understand it, but it would bring them closer to God because it wasn't an easy terrain to conquer. So when it came with Manifest Destiny, which opens up the West, so you called me around the time I'm headed to Louisiana. Louisiana Purchase, which is what opens up the West to quote unquote manifest destiny, right?
Right. Right.
Where they say, man, go west. And they told the European settler that they felt that they had dominion and dominance and they had lease to the western part of these United States because they felt that the people that occupied those lands were inferior in
Mm.
terms of their civilization, right? So
Mm.
they are utilizing remnants of the doctrine of discovery to further their hegemonic conquest to say that we're conquering in the name of Christendom based on the fact that we are the Caucasian race who has been mandated by our covenant with the creator himself to be the superior force, and we are to what? We are to, so we have to dominate in the name of this particular cross. So the difference between indigenous people is that when we receive the information and the message, it said that you have dominion over the land, which means what? That you are to be the stewards of the land, right? You are to be people that have a relationship with the land, and man has to understand his symbiotic relationship if you are given dominion over these kingdoms. So, mineral kingdom, animal kingdom, right? So, you're supposed to have a relationship with these stones and these crystals and understand what it is, not just gorge them out of the ground and give them a ticket price and then take them to these international shows and just hawk them on the market. But it's like, damn, do you know what they do? Do you know what the resonant frequency is? Do you know why they probably shouldn't have been removed from that land? Because they served a purpose for keeping the stability of that particular region intact, right? But then you also have these minerals that tell a lot about the land, tells a lot about the people. So you got coltan and you got um cobalt coming from the Congo, and you got these Congolese people that are the most magical because they come from the land that's the most magnetic based on its mineral content. So they always say the land and the people are inseparable because the people are the land. Because if you eat from the land, then you are what you eat. You dig? So we have to establish and get an understanding about our relationship to this land before we just jump out here in front of terms and just to say, oh, I like this term because it fits my swag. It's like, no, this is about your homeland. This is about you consecrating yourself back to your root chakra and understanding your relationship to this land, whether you feel that you are native to here or not. And I'm going to show and prove that right now. Let me get to this presentation.
Okay. Like that intro.
Yeah.
Make sure you hit that like button, family. We about to get it in.
Remember, y'all, collegiate and strategic. Pistol Pablo. Here we go. Let's see, window.
Did you got any gemstones you can show us as well, Blue, that you brought back?
I did, yeah, I do it in suitcases. Baby, when
Okay.
you get a chance, bring me some of them in dollars when you get a chance. Yeah, I got a treasure that I can yeah, I can share with you a treasure. And it's fitting because these particular stones are some of the most mystical stones on the planet. The mine that these stones came from are no longer open, and they come from Mount Shasta. And these stones are composed of 70 different monatomic minerals, of which gold is one of the strongest contents. When you see this stone is so mystical. They say it's the congealing of light that coalesces at Mount Shasta when you see the light apparitions that the Ascended Masters speak about. So anybody can Google this. You can go to um, his name is Paul of Venus. You can find him on Instagram. He does Mount Shasta spiritual tours, and you'll see like hundreds of different pictures of apparitions. Right, that they don't just um, deal with the concept of their ascended masters philosophically. Nigga, they show apparitions and emanations of them in real time. If they call up on them, they show up.
Mm.
Right, hence is the problem because Saint Germain said Saint Germain said that he was Francis Bacon, which is Shakespeare, and he said he's Jesus, but he also said that he was Christopher Columbus. Yeah, and he is the colonists. He's like their archangel. But that's a whole nother narrative and a whole nother story. But I'll show you these real quick before I switch the camera off. So these are Andaras, right? And they're a rare gem, and they're no longer being sourced. Uh, so let me show you them. And the different colors that you see in them is based on a different monatomic content mineral base,
Mm.
right? They got all of these different, look like Lucky Charms. This is like a purplish color. These right here, whew, It's like the sky blue. So, I'm gonna be holding on to some, but I'm also getting some of these polished up because they look like the illest version of ice when they're cut and diced the right way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We want to introduce a whole new industry with fully functional gemstones that have a spiritual, medicinal, as well as a aesthetic look to them and feel, and just fully
Right.
functional. But yeah, let's get into this presentation real quick. Slides. Yeah. 1 second. Shit screen.
While Blue getting that together, how many of y'all messing with Beyonce's country song? Y'all feeling it or what? Let me know in the chat if y'all feeling her country record that's currently out. Y'all know I'm a music man. I want to know what y'all think about that. Let me know what y'all think. All right, I see
Yeah,
you. I see. Yeah.
I want to know what you think as well as a
Yeah,
music
yeah, yeah,
man.
yeah. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. I mess with it. Definitely mess with it.
Do you ever see yourself dealing with that element of country music?
Honestly, I see myself. I will tap into the rock element before the country element, but definitely, you know, I could go there. I don't see. I wouldn't like not go there if I wanted to, but the whole rock thing, I could definitely see myself rock and roll going there. Definitely before country. So shout out to Jimi Hendrix. That's one of the things I want to do before I leave this realm. Blue, learn to play the bass guitar, the electric bass guitar. I want to learn how to play those things, man. So shout
You
out
ain't
to
the
all of
only.
those here who came before us and showed
Yeah,
us.
yeah, we could all take class together. I went and bought one of those guitars for that reason.
Indeed.
And yeah, just give me 1 second, y'all. Coming right now.
Yeah, people saying okay, haven't heard it. She conquered all. Nah, some people ain't feeling it. Good business move, never limit yourself. It's boring. I like she told her story on that. Yeah, okay. That's a great point. Fire, never listen to
Yeah,
country. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of people feeling it. Also, a
out
lot
there.
of people, but I definitely commend the sister. The sister's from Houston. So I definitely commend her for going into that genre, knowing that she was going to get heavily criticized for it. Definitely
That's
commend her for that move right there. Some dude was on radio saying, "Oh man, they was dogging it so bad they was comparing her to a dog. When dogs piss and mark their territory, like they was saying, wow, outlandish shit. In the I guess you would say the right wing media. I mean, they was oh man, whew, I'm like, damn.
yeah.
You know,
I mean,
Before you get into your presentation, I don't remember. Did Little Nas X did he get backlash when he did that?
yes, he received a lot of backlash. That's why he had to do a collaboration.
With
Uh,
right
right. So Billy Ray Cyrus had to come in as a co-sign and give him cover because he was receiving a lot of pushback. They weren't playing the music at certain stations, and they didn't want to call it. Remember it was cross genre. So when you cross the genre, and you create something that, for the most part, hasn't been done. You know
Mhm.
how easily they'll call R&B hip hop if they have to get out of
Right,
calling it R&B.
right,
So it's the same way with the same energy that they give towards country, right? You got to force them to say it. They're not just going to give you that. They're not open armed and welcoming him in. Imagine if they had the intel that we later found out about his sexual preference, and country still comes from a vein of what's considered the Bible Belt. Because once again, while I get this presentation together, I'll start giving a history of it. It comes from us congealing, right? When we come out of what's considered to be the plantation, if you will, or let's just say our southern roots of being in close proximity to what's considered to be poor whites. we developed something that was called hillbilly music. Because if you
Right.
understand what they say a hillbilly is a white nigga and a nigga is a black hillbilly,
Mm,
right?
mm,
I mean, these are some of the things that you hear down south, you know what I'm saying, in certain circles in terms of comparisons. So hillbilly Oswell comes from our connection with them in the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Mountains brings us in connection with a strain of Europeans that also are considered to be Marylandians. And those would be the people that was somewhat amalgamated. They said that they was Moorish descent. These are the people that they say Abraham Lincoln's people come from. They're up through the back of Illinois, through the Appalachians, and even they say this is where Michael Jackson's people may have came from. This
mm,
particular strain through Gary, Indiana, and all of that. These were people who were somewhat nomadic, like they moved through those mountains.
mhm,
We
mhm,
were in contact with them initially, and we
mm,
shared a lot of our culture, right? And the thing that is most culturally exchanged amongst people is the music, right? If they can't get nothing else right about them, they're gonna culturally exchange some things dealing with some music. And it was no exceptions with us. So we was culturally exchanging the music, right? And it was cool. They were getting, it's our source. They like, damn, I'm learning certain things just by allowing y'all to do what y'all do, and we just bearing witness to it. We're gonna take elements of that over here into what we're doing and spice up what we're doing. It's just like cooking. If they came around you and you showed them how to use certain seasoning, they're gonna go back and they're gonna use that seasoning. But when they introduce it, they're the front barrier to the
mhm.
customer that comes into their establishment that says, "Oh, this is the greatest, you know what I'm saying, piece of fried chicken I ever had. What's your name?" And you be like, Colonel Sanders. Oh, boom, this is Louisiana Kentucky Fried Chicken, and that's how that happens. You feel
Yeah.
me? All along the source comes from us, but we the people in the back office or in the back suite or in the back of the restaurant that's just not getting the shine, you know.
Mm,
That was definitely the case with this. So it became commercialized, what was considered to be called hillbilly music, right? It caught on and became commercialized. They split it in two and they told them, they's like, look, in order to market this, we can't have our customer base know that there's melanated people associated. So we're gonna call what y'all doing hillbilly music, and we're gonna call what they do race music,
mm,
right? And then they end up turning race music later on to black music, and hillbilly music becomes what's considered to be country and what's considered to be western,
mm.
right?
Interesting.
So it falls into that particular vein, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
those two particular lanes get created, and that particular lane where race music becomes black music is the same story that James Brown tells. It's the same story that Ray Charles tells. It's the
mm,
same story that Sam Cooke tells. It's the same story that everyone tells. They say that we got in. It's the same story that Marvin Gaye, I think, even told to it. Maybe not even Marvin Gaye, because he
it's
might have
okay.
went straight to Barry Gordy, but for the
Mm,
other artists that wanted to break into mainstream, they would white label the record cover, and instead of they would literally put white people on the label of the record cover to
mm,
make it seem like that particular artist is the one that people are showing up, you know what I'm
mm,
saying, to listen to. They was not marketing James Brown as James Brown to a white audience initially before the TV came out. The TV was the main disruptor of what pushed all
oh,
the, because prior to that, they could tell you whatever they want about what an
right,
artist looked like, right?
right.
Give me
Do-
1 second. Let me refresh this computer. Give me one
Okay.
second, bro.
All right. Wow. Yeah, this is real good, y'all. I don't say that Sunshine Purple. Beyonce needs to stick with R&B because that's how she started with. No, that's limiting yourself. I think you are projecting, and I think that's probably what you do. But I don't agree with that Sunshine Purple. Why would you need to stick with something because that's how you started? It's all about evolution. Look how Kanye evolved as an artist. What if he just stuck to his first album? We've got so many sounds from that brother. I don't agree with that Sunshine. Nah, she could explore. Artistry is about exploring and growing, experiencing growth. So yeah, I think you know, I don't think there's nothing wrong. She did remember right before this, she did a house album. And we talk, I need to do a show on house music because a lot of people, house gets lumped in there, and people listen to house and they may think about the gays, or they may see the white DJs, or they think about white people. But house has, listen, man, them black women see what was y'all told me before, all them sisters, the black women dominated the house scene. Blue got to fix something on his end, but black women dominated the house sound when I was young. Coming up, man, they had absolutely amazing house songs. So yeah, shout out to all the sisters that was doing their thing. Crystal Waters, yeah, Crystal Waters is one of them. Yeah, they say, yeah, I need to do a show specifically on the origins of house music. Definitely the yeah. Sunshine. I see you said that's your opinion. Yeah. Shout out to you, Sunshine. Yeah. I wasn't trying to get at you or nothing. Yeah. Shout out to you. I definitely appreciate the opinion. That's what the chat is about. I just was saying she deserved to explore different sounds. But yeah, shout out to definitely love the involvement in the chat, definitely. Beautiful. So yeah, I'm just reading the chat right now. Yeah. CC Peniston. Shout Robert. Yeah. Uh-huh. All the sisters that did they thing with the house music. Yeah, Chicago. House music was dope. Yeah. Yeah, Daft Punk. They got a nice sound. Shout out to Daft Punk. They got a nice sound. Kanye sampled some of their stuff. They sampled some of our stuff from back in the day too, I think. I like that my jam from Daft Punk is that one more time gonna celebrate. That's why that shit come on. Dun, 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 dun. Like, so I fucks with Daft Punk. Shout out to them. But yeah, music, man. Listen, man, when you explore so many different genres, Jungle Brothers, shout out to the Jungle Brothers. I don't know, Pig Meat Mark. I don't know. I'm gonna look that up. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Oh, remember that girl, I'll house you. I remember that. I'll house you. Oh shoot. Oh shoot, y'all. Oh man. Y'all taking it back tonight. The Jungle Brothers is not house, but shout out to the Jungle Brothers regardless. Shout out to the Jungle Brothers regardless. Shout out to Jody Watley. Yeah. Shout out to Jody Watley. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that's yeah, we already mentioned CC Peniston. Yeah, the house music was soul. Yeah, I'm actually, I'm gonna work with some artists this year with some house music. That's definitely a goal of mine, to work with some artists with the house music. But yeah, we still waiting for Blue to get that together. But the history is deep. Like I said, I was watching. There's so many small things that we don't know the history or the origins behind. And I didn't know. I was listening, like I said before this show, I was listening to the show from the brother Tariq Nasheed, and he was. And I heard him say this before, but he reminded me today, and he was breaking down like simple things. Well, let me get to Blue because I don't want to delay this any further. I'll say that later on. Blue, what's good? You good on your end?
Yeah, my apologies, man. My apologies. My technology had to get situated.
But, all right, yeah. We ready to get started, Blue. I'm ready to see this. Yeah, so whenever you ready, let me know.
All right.
This is real good. The people in the chat reminding me of all the old school songs. They bringing up names. I gotta Coco the Truth. I love you. Oh man, I don't know that one. I'm sure if I heard it, I would know. All right, let's get to this presentation from my brother Blue family. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you for your patience, family. So here we go. The hidden history of country music and cowboy culture. Now, you don't know you got an uncle that looks something like that, right? You all know that you know a ninja who looks something like that. So we're not going to make this thing difficult, right? Because it's like,
Indeed.
it's an identity thing, and they just got us so far removed from seeing ourselves that we can't see ourselves. You dig what I'm saying? But it's all right here. The black cowboys of Mississippian pictures, man. Like, our people are naturally acclimated towards these particular animals, and we have been known to do things on these animals that defy the odds, that defy logic. You know what I'm saying? And this is just our DNA repeating itself because we have been known in antiquity to do these things, and I'm gonna show and prove it, right? This images of Nate Love, right? Nate Love, right after the Civil War, being a cowboy was one of the few jobs open to men of color who wanted to not serve as elevator operators or delivery boys or other similar occupations, says William Lauren Katz, a scholar of African American history and the author of 40 books on the topic, including the Black West. 40 books, all right, family? So there's a lot of information out there on this topic. It's not hidden. They're not trying to write us out of history. They're just not going to tell you a myth story. You have to tell your own myth story because it does not lead to them being superheroes. You dig? It's just that simple. This is a war to see who controls the narrative. If you can tell a better version of your truth, then so be it, right? Because they can tell a better version of your lie. And that's who wins out at the end of the day. The trail drivers of Texas, interesting sketches of early cowboys and their experience on the range and on the trail during the days that tried men's souls. So again, the plains and the terrains was nothing nice, right? No average person can dominate and conquer this terrain. We had it naturally within us. All right. According to the narrative, if we're going according to the narrative or the mythos that they have established around 1619, if one is to buy into that mythos to say that you came here to do hard labor, then right, you are known to do arduous labor and conquer terrains and do things that other people found difficult. It came natural for you. Dealing with cattle and horses was no different because you came from a stock specifically of what's considered to be the West African. They have a 10,000-year history of dealing with cattle and horses. Okay? So it's very indicative, once again, to what mythos you buy into. Because then people say, oh, I'm not from here. Or I'm not from there. I'm from over here. Well, they got a mythos about how the horse was introduced to the Americas, right? Do you buy into that mythos? We'll get into it. So here we go. These are some of the legendary melanated, what we're going to call them horsemen. It sounds a lot better than cowboys. The reason that they called them cowboys is because they were calling melanated men boys and they were handling cows. So they called them cowboys, while Europeans were called cowhands. There's a big difference. It sounds totally different. The brand became so popular, right? Because we once again flipped the term that they once again adopted something that we popularized that they thought would be at a detriment to our identity, and they took it for their own. Where have we heard that before? But let's continue. This is Bull Pickett. He's the bulldodger or the bulldogger. He popularized a technique where he would jump off of the horse and tackle the cattle by the horns and wrestle it. Okay? This is what he did. This is what he popularized, and it's a popular move to this day. They also have what's considered to be the Bill Pickett Rodeo, or that's the it's the pinnacle of the quote unquote melanated rodeo circuit to this day. Okay, black cowboys in the American West, on the range, on the stage, behind the badge. Okay, because we also were the lawmen, we were the badasses, and we were the lawmen of the West. This is how the West was won. Okay. These are references as well, books that I've referenced in some of this research that I also recommend that you guys get your hands on. Again, there's a whole pantheon of books on this. This was an excellent documentary that I watched as well that gave me a lot of information. Exodusters, Black Cowboys, and Buffalo Soldiers in the Black West. All right. And what he was detailing with this is that in 1862, in the Homestead Act, they provided 160 acre plots of Western federal land. This was out towards Kansas, though, right? Now, this brings in Kansas in terms of what role do they play here in 2024 as being the Super Bowl winners back to back, right? What role does Kansas as the heartland of America play in melanated myth story?
okay, because nobody talks about it. But during the 1970s and the 1870s and the 1880s, 25,000 black migrants sought refuge in Kansas. Nobody says that. Nobody talks about that. They talk about Oklahoma that they said was initiated through the Trail of Tears, and we went there barefoot as slaves for Cherokees and other indigenous tribes uprooted out of where? Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, right? And specifically Georgia, where they found gold at, in North Georgia, when they found gold in the North Georgia mountains. So they said that they corralled them barefoot to what's considered to be Oklahoma or Indian territory, where what? Where they found that they were sent to oil-rich land. You think that the Europeans would make a mistake such as that, as hungry as they were? Or do we have providence as a people that even in the worst of our circumstances, specifically with our relationship with this land of the Americas, we have always been blessed? God bless America. Okay, so we end up on oil-rich land, and the people that you're telling me went there barefoot as slaves end up becoming not only business owners, but standard bearers for industry. How did they become doctors, lawyers, with jitney services and airports, multimillionaires? And you telling me that's the greatest American story ever? But we don't tell it like that, right? We want a trauma bond. These people right here, Benjamin Pop Singleton, a former slave born in Nashville, Tennessee, okay, the home of country. He became a leader of the Exodus, the movement. They said that they had a land out in Kansas called Nicodemus. None of them had ever been there. They took their families and they had to forge a trail through the territories where there were no trails, right? They had to figure it out. They had to formulate a group of security detail where the men would stand post while the women and the children slept at night. They would have to shoot their guns to fend off the animals that was encroaching upon them, because they was their campfire and they knew that they had the goods. They had to forge their way all the way to Nicodemus just to find a community where it wasn't even a community. People were set up in outhouses, you know what I'm saying? But they was living, but they was free, but they no longer was in the South, because living in the South became so unbearable that our people would rather venture into the thick of the wild, into the wild terrain, and conquer the West, go into the unknown to set up life and establishment. That's what it means in this country that we have done to establish life in this country. Look at the migration map. These are melanated people. This is our story. This is what we did. This is how we moved because of what's considered to be controversy or challenges, right? This is what diversity did to us. We fanned out. We didn't fold. We got our things and we moved. We expanded, okay, our footprint all across this country. And we set up some of the greatest migratory paths and some of the greatest stories in terms of coming up ever. But we only want to trauma bond about the tragedy that some of these stories became bittersweet when the shit got, flipped on his head. Take, for instance, this migratory path that would take us to the Midwest, right? And then you would see there's a light. They're not even telling our story. This is from 1950 to 1970, because what happened with Nicodemus is that when they built the railroad systems, they didn't build no railroad systems that serviced our communities when we pioneered the West initially, right? And we were doing it in conjunction, I would assume, with the government, because this is the things that they wanted, quote unquote, people, the settlers, to do for manifest destiny. But they didn't support them and build no railroads near them. So they wasn't reinforcing their community economically. So these communities somewhat starved out and they become failed communities. This is even before, like, the early 19, around the time that these migratory paths happened, is when certain communities in Kansas would fail. Then there were certain communities. Remember, there was 13 different Black Wall Streets in Oklahoma. The movie about the Killer of Flower Moon is about the indigenous, what you consider to be the Native Indian or the Native American Indian community that was a few miles away from what you call it, from Tulsa, right? The Osage, what was they called, baby? Osage. I believe, or something to that effect. Anyway, the whole movie is about them, and they became oil rich. They was the richer per cap, like they was the richest zip code per capita in the whole country. Like all of the people, like they were driving vehicles tantamount to saying that everybody had a Rolls Royce Wraith today. Like it would be on that comparison. They had more money than they could spend. They were filthy rich, and it was all based on oil. That all of that land was oil rich. You feel me? So they try to debo these people and drive them into barren land, and by providence, these people who were considered to be, in a biblical sense, this is the lost tribe of Israel, if you will, right? They end up in providence. They end up in oil rich, mineral rich land that will give them people all of the financial reparations and repair that is needed and necessary for them to build themselves back to a formidable people. But then comes all of the other stuff again that we identify and trauma bond with, right? The mistakes that we made, the trust that we gave, you know what I'm saying? The slip ups and things of that nature. So Tulsa gets burnt, and then that's all we want to talk about. Or it gets bombed, but we don't want to rebuild, or we don't want to speak about the fact that it was rebuilt and it failed economically once integration came, and we preferred to spend our money across the tracks with quote unquote Europeans. So these are the migratory paths that were spread out. You know what I'm saying? This is where our people went, and we set up civilization and culture, right? Because we were being ran out of the South due to aggressive Jim Crow tactics. So we went west, right? These are the stories that are now told when our family from these particular regions will go west to places like Compton, and you have the Compton Cowboys or the Riders today, or you have the family in, you know, in the Midwest that would bring the same culture there, because it's all coming out of this space and this place right here where we were introduced to it, specifically in Texas. Okay. So again, these are more the migratory paths, right? This is where our people took the information and they flourished. This is why you also will find the Cowboys up in Brownsville, New York, because the people from Brownsville are coming from these regions of the South. This is the migratory path of them, right? Then you find our family going up into Kansas or Oklahoma. You find them going up into the Midwest. You find them going up into Ohio. These are all of the places that you still find energy, and the music would follow with them. This is also a musical migratory path. You could trace our people through this country based on the musical migrations that we took, right? So let's go, right? And again, just in picture, when you see us, it's a natural look, it's a natural fit. This is who we are. We're in our element. We're not appropriating a goddamn thing, right? And then you got the Buffalo Soldiers, right? Sellouts. Shout out to Bob Marley. I know the movie came out and all of that, but I'm on my Dick Gregory. You know what I'm saying? We don't rock with the Buffalo Soldiers, right? They signed up. They did what they had to do, though, because once again, our people was down and out, but we have this bravery factor. We got this DNA factor about us. We got this warrior spirit, and they signed them up to go into Indian territory and finish them people off. Now, whether you prescribe to the fact that you think that you was on both sides of the battle or not, that's for you to figure out with your own karmic resolve, right? Because in these narratives these days, we the cowboy and the Indian doing ourselves in, right? So here goes Bass Reeves, the baddest man of the West. You dig what I'm saying? The prototype allegedly for what would be considered to be the Lone Ranger. He had 3,000 arrests in his storied career, right? Coming out of Texas, going up through the plains, ending up in Indian territory, building with the indigenous people, learning the Muskogee language, and becoming an interplay now between the law, who wants to go and get people in the in the lands that were, you know what I'm saying? They couldn't go in those Indian territory. They couldn't go in the lawless lands. These lawless lands had the most kills for U.S. Marshals per capita. So they had to send a melanated man in there that knew the language, and he was able to, you know, partition his services in a way in which he got 3,000 different, 3,000 arrests, and he was the illest marshal or ranger ever, right? And this is Bass Reeves, quote unquote ex-slave, who was a slave of a Confederate, and he fought in the war. He fought against the Union and all of that for the Confederates at some point. You know what I mean? And he has an extensive history, and it goes a lot deeper than that. I don't want to, you know what I mean? We would have to do a whole deep dive into Bass Reeves. They got a whole TV series on Paramount on about him. You can go and catch some of his history over there. All right. James Beckworth, Ned Huddleston, right? All of this is considered what we consider to be the Black myth story. Okay. These are these melanated people of these particular times that don't get mentioned, but they were the archetype and the prototypes. You know what I'm saying? These were the standard bearers. These were the ones that now get depicted in Hollywood and whitewash and caricature that we only know what we know today. Even the sign or the name of Ferrari comes from a melanated tribe, right? That comes from the continent in the Mali Empire called the Ferrari, who were fearless warriors on horseback. Now, this is where it gets interesting, right? Because again, regardless of who you can claim to be, whether you think that you're from here or you say, yeah, I buy into the narrative that we came from cross continent, right? Those West Africans, what do they have in common? They have a relationship with the horse and the cow that dates back to 10,000 years, right? And they were dominant on the horse. The narrative goes that the horse was introduced into the Americas in the 15th century by the what? By the conquistadors, by the Spaniards. But who introduced the horse to Spain? Now we cooking. So we go right back to the Moors, right back where we started. The Sahelian Empire is one of the most well-known examples of African horsemen, comes from that Sahelian empire, such as the Ghani Empire, Mali Empire, and the Songhai Empire. These empires located in the Sahel region of West Africa utilized cavalry units known as the Ferrari or Knights. These horsemen were highly skilled in combat and played crucial roles in conquest, trade, protection, and defense. Let me go back to this, right? Let's talk about it. They out here stealing all your swag. And you can't see yourself in the narrative, so it goes over your head and you covet the things that are created by them coveting you. You feel me? And it becomes the pinnacle item or like mark of your success. You got to get yourself a Ferrari 50F, aka Ferrari, or a lamb chop, right? And all of these things are borrowing from your narrative. But you don't identify yourself with horsemen because they want to give you the concept of cowboys and then put you on the bottom of those hooves where you're getting galloped upon. And you think that you are appropriating something when them people lifted it straight from you, right? So we have a storied affair. We have a storied history with our relationship with the horse, right? Or are you one of the indigenous people that was on this continent who got introduced to the horse by the Spaniards? Or do you come from a melanated stock that has a DNA archive that remembers you conquering with horses, right? In caravans for over 10,000 years. They said that we were so cold on the horses. We would do stunts on the horses where the horse, we would be riding on the horse and we could take our hat and dip back on the horse and erase the any sign that the hooves were leaving to clean our tracks. Like we was doing the illest things ever on horses that are inconceivable. You can't even explain it these days. The stuff that we was known for doing on horses 4,000 years ago. Okay. The Almoravids, right? So the first wave of melanated Africans that went into Spain, okay, and put the works on them were the Almoravids. They were known to be horsemen, right? They were known for their cavalry. They were known for their conquest and what they were able to do moving with them horses. You feel me? The Almoravids instead introduces two new types of troops, African horse and African foot. Together they composed the mainstay of the giant army that the Almoravids were able to draw from their vast African empire and land at Algeciras to intervene against the Christians, right? So this is a whole storied history of our conquest utilizing horse, going all the way back to Hannibal, okay? Because he wasn't just using elephants. The horses were also integral to all of his conquests, okay? Would you think you could read about our conquest on horse when we was riding chariots all the way back in the goddamn Bible, right? So how can they, they're just saying that an entire uh entity such as a horse just got introduced to the Americas in the 1500s. The horse, the wild horse was in the Americas way before the Spaniards brought the horse to the Americas. The horse was in the Americas, left the Americas and came back, right? On some reverse migration, just the same way that the horse did with the Spaniards, because we introduced the horse to Spain. In particular, the Andalusian horse, which is the pinnacle of all horses in the horse breed stock whatsoever, is the Andalusian horse, which specifically is a horse that was brought there and bred by the Moors, right? This all ties to the horse. You feel me? Even going all the way into the Kentucky Derby, and the first jockey that wins the Kentucky Derby was a melanated man, because what? There's a connection to the way that they were breeding slaves and the way that they were breeding horse. This all comes out of the Oxmoor, right, farm that was in Kentucky. They have they're a conglomerate that owns car lots and things of this nature now, but they're the ones that were initially in charge of the stock of melanated slaves that they were teaching how to become, jockeys and things of that nature. But based on our equestrian nature that was in our DNA, we already knew what to do with horses. Feel me? So if y'all haven't seen The Black Knight with Martin Lawrence, go check that out. Any reference in history to Black Knight is referring to Moors. The Black Knight was always on the black stallion, okay? We were heralded through time immemorial, known for what we always did when it came to horses, okay? So again, are you the polo horseman or are you a cowboy? Right? Which one sounds more definitive to you? So for me growing up, I had a natural affinity towards polo. Like we were the polo horsemen, right? That's what we was rocking. We all identified with the horse for some reason. I just did a documentary. They shot a documentary when I was just in Brooklyn at the beginning of February on boosting. I'm part of I'm in the Hall of Records for the Hall of Fame, right? There's like everybody damn near that they interviewed spoke about the Polo twins in their interview. So they was able to capture, my testimonial about our times growing up boosting in Brooklyn and what we did for the brand of polo, right? And the fact that we just identified so much with this aesthetic up, you know what I mean? Years later, I will come to find out that etymologically, my name Paul means horse and Philip means lover of horse. So, as twins, we have this relationship and this understanding of our connection when it comes to the horse, right? The horseman. You feel me? Horse is a part of indigenous cultures longer than Western historians thought. They got cave drawings of horses over here. How dare they? Right? They whitewash everything. They can't tell the truth if their life depended on it. They can only see themselves in the narrative. This is all about controlling the narrative, y'all. Right? So we get to Memphis, the home of the blues, right? So there's no coincidences here when it comes to what? A place where they say our soul comes from. But when we go to Memphis and Kemet, that's the place where our souls transcend. That is the Memphite region. That is where the kings go to get buried. What are you talking about? So if the mythos, if we can show and prove, because now we're talking about Memphis, now we're talking about Tennessee. If we can show and prove that Memphis is part of the mythos, right? Then why would Nashville be any different? That ain't too far away. It's all Tennessee. Tennessee is a name based on copper. So it's going to resonate on both spectrums the same way if we can qualify the mythos. So since this is Black Myth Story Month, let's go qualify some mythos real quick, right? We all know Memphis, okay? The home of B.B. King. It's the home of blues. Look at the map right here. If you'll look on your left, you'll see the Mississippi River running up from St. Louis all the way down to New Orleans, right? New Orleans right here is the home of St. Louis Cathedral. Hence the fact that when you go all the way up here, you get St. Louis, Missouri, all right? This is how they ran it, okay? And they came and they what? Conquered the energy of this particular vein in this artery by consecrating it under Catholicism or Christianity with this energy of what's considered to be St. Louis on both ends, right? St. Louis Cathedral is the oldest cathedral in the country. It's the triple steeple cathedral that sits in Jackson Square, of which they say is more artifacts underneath that cathedral than the Vatican, because this is the what? This is the juncture point where all of the artifacts from the empires that were along the Mississippi are now concealed right here. Okay. So look at Memphis to New Orleans along the Mississippi. Okay. Then when you go to Memphis and Kemet, okay, this is the Memphite region of Kemet. This is a funerary region. This is where the kings are buried, right? Here goes Giza. Here goes the pyramids. Here goes the Nile. Here goes the Blue Nile, right? Here goes Egyptian blue. Okay. The Egyptian blue powder makes fingerprints glow. Okay. That's how blue it is. That's how bioluminescent it is, that if you get it on your fingerprints, it's going to glow on the blue, on the lights. Okay. So this is where energy of blue emanates from in this particular region is consistent with where kings go to get buried. You feel me? So we just seen this take place the other day where we got Yo Gotti's brother, Big Jook, was what? Killed attending the funeral of a kingpin in his city, the home where what? King was killed during MLK weekend over what? The death of assumed of a king of Memphis named Young Dolph, right? April 4, 4-4, Dr. King on 68 gets slain in Memphis, but during his birthday weekend this year, we see a street king get killed at a repast for a kingpin, right? Over a king of Memphis that got killed over a title over who the king of Memphis was. Right? Are we cooking yet? So, like I said, this energy of the king that resonates so strong when it comes to Memphis and Tennessee, this BB King energy, this emanation of blues. Look, they said it ain't hidden from you. They said you don't got to go too far. It's impossible for them to tell their history without including you. You're just not looking close enough. They're not trying to hide it. They can't hide it. They said it's not just that country music's black influence is clearly laid out in history book after history book. It's that in her country music's most defining history book, and one of its best-selling ones, Beyonce and her influences actually talked about in detail. That's right, 6 years ago, and 6 years before Beyonce would choose to make a country album, she was already cemented in the annals of country written history. There's nothing left to talk about. She's already in the book. The only book that counts in country. They amended the edition in 2015, and during the amending of that edition, they wrote her into the history. She's already in there, right? And these are the definitive books of the history of country that do not omit the quote unquote, the origins of it or the black participation initially in the formulating of it. We're just not looking in the right places, right? So she takes shots, unfortunately, at this lady, Ryan and Giddens. She played banjo on Beyonce's latest release, and she's a legend in the country music scene, right? But you know, she's in it for the respect factor. You know what I'm saying? So they said, where did this disconnect between the banjo's black origins? Because the banjo instrument is the central instrument that country music is built around. It's built around the banjo. This comes from West Africa, y'all. Right? They didn't say it came from the indigenous aboriginal people or indigenous people of the Americas. It comes from West Africa, right? Where did the disconnect between the banjo's black origins and its misunderstanding as a white instrument originate? Though Rhiannon Giddens and others attribute white supremacy, is likely due to two significant cultural moments that became synonymous with the banjo in the 1970s. The theme for the TV show The Beverly Hillbillies, played by Earl Scruggs, and the dueling banjo scene from the 1972 film Deliverance. Pieces of media were able to usher in a changing of the narrative where now it what? befits their mythos. And just like that, here we go, battling to find foundation in another art form that we gave birth to, right? That you don't get no residuals from, right? And only footnote mentions. And you got to fight your way to get in there. You like, wait, let baby girl in. They're like, wait a minute now. For a time, only those accept. Okay, Linda Martell. So now we're going to edify some of the mainstays that have been part of what's considered to be country music. Melanated women in particular have been kicking in the door, waving a 4-4 in country music for a minute now. And we're going to give them their just due and speak their names as well. All right. So this sister here, Color Me Country, was an album that she came with. She built a whole movement around, the fact that she came out with this music, and she didn't feel like she was that. She got beat by her label. She got jerked out of the control of her art, and she went independent and built the whole movement around her independence, and also opened up a lane for other independent melanated artists in the genre, BIPOC artists as well, to get involved. So she got a whole movement, a whole podcast, a whole tour, based on her brand, which is Color Me Country. So 3 songs from her 1969 album, Color Me Country. Oh, my bad. I'm telling the story of somebody else. I'm getting it mixed up, but I'm going to get to it. Right? Color Him Father, Bad, Case of the Blues, and Before the Last Teardrop Falls. Yet after its release in a limited run of public appearances, her album label Plantation Records released her from contract. Martell has since shared stories of racist insults and threats of violence by country music audiences and by television executives, and an almost daily wearing down of her spirit. Color Me Country was her only country music album, though she continued to make music professionally and semi-professionally. Right? The Country Music Hall of Fame and the Museum of Nashville is considered one of the greatest music history museums in the world, and both public-facing displays and in the museum's 2006 350-page companion book written by country historians Paul Kingsbury and Elena Nash called Will the Circle Be Unbroken, it states expressly, Black and whites had met and mingled since the early colonial era, absorbing much from each other across a racial barrier that held firm socially but remained porous culturally. In many ways, poor Blacks and poor whites shared a folk culture with a common body of songs, dances, and instruments that moved freely across racial lines. Black fiddlers were ubiquitous in the 19th century South, and in fact were described much more often than white musicians in the newspapers, travel accounts, and other literature at the time. Slaves frequently attended religious revivals in the antebellum era, and while they were typically segregated from white worshipers, their singing was recognized and admired nevertheless. White musicians did not simply learn from Blacks to sing more expressively with full open-throated emotion. They were inspired also to take up new instruments such as the banjo and to experiment with it. Okay? So this is the history. We're taking many things back in this particular genre. Music is not it. Respect is not it. Shout out to the sister here. Her name is Fawn Weaver, and she is taking back whiskey with her brand called Uncle Nearest, who she names after the melanated man who taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey, and her company is she's almost a unicorn. She's valued now at $900 million. Okay? 900 M's. The inception of the company after its founder, Fawn Weaver, learned of the story of Nathan Nearest Green, a Black man that mentored Jack Daniels in whiskey making, but never received his proper credit. When I went to the family, I asked, what is the one thing you think should happen to honor Nearest? They responded, we think his name should be on the bottle. Weaver previously told Essence, and by then we had already created a foundation with the intention of paying for all of his descendants to go to college. That was something I was working on before I even came to this story, just looking at taking underprivileged kids and figuring out how to get them what they need in high school so that they can get the grades and get to Ivy League. Okay? So when I began working on this, I just transferred that passion. Look, in this Black Myth Story Month, man, let's just make it a note and a thing in the community just to honor some of these trailblazing melanated women who are kicking in these doors and fighting these fights, you know what I'm saying, across the spectrum to get the respect back, to restore the brand. This is about restoring the brand identity. The brand is damaged, y'all. The brand is so damaged, people can come and say what they want and pick this piece up here and pick that piece up there, right? But once you dust the brand off and you see the true value in it, you would not allow anybody, right, to yeah, look at hip hop. Got Benzino crying. Ancient DNA reveals an early African origins of cattle in the Americas, right? So even a story about how they introduced cattle ain't true. They want to be the progenitors of everything. You feel me? And it's just not consistent with the truth, right? Think about this. If Abu Bakr, if Mansa Musa and them, right, had caravans and they was doing what they was doing, they had already known about horses, they had the camels and everything. And if Abu Bakr and them came over here, you feel me? However many hundreds of thousand years that they came through the Yucatan Peninsula, right, through southern Mexico, right? And we got a 10,000 year working with cattle. You think that no cattle ever made it over here? That we wasn't working with cattle at all? Right? Come on now. So these stories are so important for young women like my niece because, you know, when we brought her around these animals, she had a natural affinity towards them. And it's very important that our children can see themselves competing, you know, in some of these tournaments or just congealing and connecting with the animals and they're not scared of them. A partner of mine is a brother named Brian New Horse who has an amazing story. He is a horseman from Brooklyn who got a stable out here in Georgia, and he has a whole incident with the Fulton County. He said, you know, some of the old tactics of the old South are still rearing their heads. You know, they took his horses from him. He said they're stealing livestock still. They're doing a lot of things to threaten the restoration of the lifestyle of horsemen because they know the power that comes when our people see these animals and connect with them. And they also fear when they see us with these animals, you feel me, having a relationship. It reminds of them something recessively that makes them very uncomfortable. So when we migrated and left the agrarian aspects of our culture, growing our own foods, domesticating animals, you know what I'm saying, dealing with livestock, there's a lot that we left behind, right? We left our connection to Mother Nature. We became more unoriginal people, moving to concrete jungles and dealing with artificial animals and beasts. Now we had to deal with the animal and men. You know what I'm saying? Now we had to deal with the subhuman aspects of what man becomes when you take him out of his natural habitat, natural environment, and put him in an artificial one. He becomes artificial. And we've been dealing with artificial intelligence ever since. You feel me? Artificial intelligence is called an education system. You got a lot of nerve. So y'all see, we out there barefoot riding these horses, right? No saddle. I got a saddle on this time, but I've rode the horses with no saddle. There's a natural relationship that you have with these animals once you forge that relationship with them. And they're gonna make sure that they take care of you as long as you take care of them. It's a beautiful thing when it happens on some avatar shit with the braiding and all that, y'all. Like, we have to bring this back. We have to bring this back. It's who we are naturally. Look at that, glowing. The God is glowing. The God looked natural up there. It wasn't just about wearing polo. It was about getting back on these horses and reminding ourselves that we're horsemen, right? And those open plains and those open territories are waiting on us to occupy them. Nobody's out there. No one's doing anything with it. Why are we cramped in these cities? Why don't we go into the country and explore and set up shop and conquer and homestead, right? That's who we were as a people one time. Like, we were homesteaders. We went out here into the great expanse and we made shit happen consistently. It's just who we were. So I was just in Arizona. There's like 50 of these pictures that I have. And this is their old iconography that they have like at gas stations. You know, they just collect shit all up and down the highways. and they just had such a fascination with the Indian. And I'm like, for people who you say that you so mercilessly beat, you know what I'm saying? Like, you really want to beat them. Like, every chance you get, you trying to imitate them. You trying to do something to pay homage to them. That's your shit. Like, you love destroying shit and then putting it in museums and honoring it. You some weird muff. I don't look. We don't got nothing in common. You know what I'm saying? So it's imperative that we look at the world through our eyes and take back what's ours, because these are some weird ass people that we always seem to be following behind. They're very uncultured, you know what I'm saying? And they just lie at any given opportunity, and they're not going to tell you any part of the narrative that makes you seem like you are in control, right? Or you are in your power dynamic, or you are in your nature. So let me read off some of these names real quick before I conclude, so we could bring some respect to them. And these are some of the people who are instrumental in paving the way, okay, for what's considered to be melanated horsemen, and what's also considered to be country music, Western music, hillbilly music, okay. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's an American art form, and we are the Americans, y'all. So Deadwood Dick, pause, right?
Whoa, I had to come. Whoa, bro. Whoa.
That look, that he
Hey,
said that's what they named him. His name
hey.
is Nate Love, right? And he went to a part of the country that's what that country, it was called Deadwood. And he yeah, he became a legend in that town for his feats that he had with the horses and the cattle and everything. And that's the name that they gave him, and it's stuck ever since. Pause. And he hasn't, that he's part of the legend. Bill Pickett, once again, the inventor of bulldogging, right? Then you got Basso Bozy Ickard, who pioneered the cattle drives. You got Bass Reeves, of course. They spoke about Johanna July. That was a melanated lady, and she was known for her legend of taming wild horses, right? You got Oliver Lewis. That was the first Kentucky Derby winner, okay? And these melanated women are names in the genre of what's considered to be country, who are legends in the genre, who maybe don't get mentioned as much. So it's not just Beyonce. She's coming and joining a pantheon of young women who are also part and parcel to this art form. Many people don't know Tina Turner came out, her first solo album, Tina Turns the Country On, right? Was a country album. Millie Jackson got one called Little Bit Country. Anita Pointer, the Pointer Sisters, got one called Too Many Times, but the Pointer Sisters also got a famous song called Fairy Tale. You got Reese Palmer with Country Girl, Color Me Country Radio, and Fun is what I was speaking about with that's the sister Reese Palmer, right? You got Chapel Hart, you got Miko Marks, you got Mickey Guyton, you got Brittany Spencer, you got Yola, you got Rhiannon Giddens, you got Allison Russell, you got Amethyst Kia, you got Leela McCullough, you got Queen Esther, you got Madeline Edwards, you got Lily Lewis, you got Dalia Black, you got Jay Oladikun, you got Dorje the Singing Shaman, you got Rihanna Robert, you got Holly G, the Black Opry Review, you got Sister Strings, and also shout out to the legend of all legends, Tracy Chapman, okay, who won a Grammy the other week on the last Grammy Awards, and she also performed her Grammy Award winning legendary song Fast Car, that she just did it in a country twang, and it sounds just as good as the original. Like, was the original country as well? Am I just lost here? It's more, that's folk music, right? That's considered folk music. She's telling a folk tale. I grew up on Bob Dylan. I understand a lot about what folk music represents. I appreciate it because they told coherent tales, and it was like the blues. You feel me? And as a writer and a songwriter myself, I like that I can follow these songs. They told a cohesive narrative in story format, beginning, middle, and end. Right? When I'm driving on them open roads, and I turn on a country music station and it'd be the only station, I can still follow the song because it's telling a story. And I appreciate the storytelling. You feel me? So yeah. I got more names. Emmett Miller, right? So Emmett Miller, Lovesick Blues inspires Hank Williams' rendition, what is the most beloved song in country music. Okay. So white banjo players like Earl Scruggs and David Ackman made that instrument instrumental to the DNA of country music, but they adopted it from us. Okay. The first songs of hillbillies were derived from slave spiritual, field songs, religious hymns, or what? Professional black artists were also supplying them the sauce that they needed to create the riffs, the rhythms, and everything else that ends up being their music. Carry Me Back to Old Virginia by James A. Bland, right? Who was a black New Yorker, gets redone as a rendition and it becomes the national song for Virginia, right? But a melanated man does it, a New Yorker. Okay. Black Yodel #9, Louis Armstrong and Jimmy Rogers was also a collaborative effort that was one of the pinnacle points of what's considered to be country music. Okay. They said the hillbilly music from 1924 to 1932 was the most cross collaborative music genre early on because it wasn't race based. It was considered to be multicultural. This is the place where we were able to meet and congeal on an even kneel, you feel me, and do our thug dizzle. Okay? It was music. Once the genre became commercialized, they created hillbilly records and race records. Thus, when blacks get snubbed, scrubbed, and replaced for marketing, right, it was just used as an excuse that they were saying, look, we can't put Negroes on the cover because it wasn't selling white markets, so we got to put this white artist instead. And then eventually they just pushed them out the market altogether and they deboed them. You know what I'm saying? And that's the shit that just happens. And we can't be in our feelings all the time because somebody don't want to play fair, right? Or when they get an edge on you, especially when they know that you got more talent than them, you feel me? They're going to want to take something that's yours and use it for their own shit. They do this over and over, and yet we're still surprised. So, yes, when it comes to quote unquote Beyonce, she is continuing a storied tradition. We also have to honorably mention K. Michelle, right? We cannot leave this conversation without mentioning the obvious. K. Michelle has over a decade odyssey with her encroaching on country music. She was just on the CMAs with Jelly Roll doing her thing, and she's been making a lot of different forays into the country music scene, which is Nashville. Country music's, mecca is Nashville. You feel me? You got to go there. That's the holy grail of it. You got to kiss that particular ring. So she's been doing that consistently. You feel me? And that sister deserves to be shouted out as well. But yeah, there's a healthy contingency of co-conspirators with the sister, quote unquote Beyonce, looking to bring more culture, if you will, or more melanin to the genre of country music.
Right.
And that there is Pistol Pablo's presentation.
Man, Pistol Pablo. That was an amazing job, brother. Let's give it up, Pistol Pablo. That was good research, good work. That was
Thank you,
thorough.
brother.
I definitely appreciate it, man. That was very interesting. I mean, that needs to
Bro,
be on.
you always had the ability to send me on a research journey that expands my consciousness. I mean, I literally got my wig blown back because I was moving through these regions while I'm doing this presentation and preparing. I'm moving through Texas, then I moved through Louisiana, then I was moving through Mississippi, Alabama, right? The energy and the soul of it, especially when I get to New Orleans and we just leave Mardi Gras, where I'm like, we're the cowboy and the Indian, right? Look at ourselves in that respect. So the whole Texas handle of it comes from the whole horseman or cowboy aspect of it as
Yeah.
well as the indigenous part, because that ties into the Seminole, that ties into emancipation, that ties into Juneteenth, right? All of those indigenous tribes down there in Texas. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So you got the indigenous aspect of it, you got the Indian aspect of it, you got the horseman slash cowboy aspect of it. You know what I mean? And then you pull up to the New Orleans, Louisiana aspect, and all of that is that big chief energy, right? Melanated indigenous tribes, right? Then you get into the open plains, and then that's a different narrative altogether, right? Because those is the amalgamated aspects of it. But we also were out there making marks. Unfortunately, we also were making marks as the people who were pushing up against these tribes and pushing them out, so quote unquote colonizers and white settlers can come and lay the railroad tracks. And then also that also led to the decimation of the bison or the buffalo population, which was numbered into the millions, and they decimated the head count down to about 5,000 in somewhat of 30 years.
Wow.
Right, when they brought the railroad tracks out west. They put a standard on the head of bison. They didn't want no other part of the body, right? They just wanted the head of the bison. So not only were they destroying the entire bison population, which the indigenous people were dependent on for food, clothing, and shelter, they were leaving the carcasses on the open plains, right? And that was destroying the ecosystem because of the putrefaction of all of the dead carcasses.
Yeah.
They did no longer have, and they didn't even have, you know what I'm saying, predators that, you know what I mean, would come and clean that up.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
they destroyed an entire ecosystem, and that's for them how the West was won. The West was won for them by cutting off the food source of the indigenous people, and then they were easily able to drive them onto reservations, because it was not just the food source that they cut off their spiritual connection to a figure who was integral to their spiritual system and their spiritual identity, which was the quote unquote buffalo. Pass me that coat. So on my travels through the West just now, I was wearing this coat that I got from a an indigenous. This is a mystical coat. This is about the this story is telling about the white buffalo, which is a mythos based on a Hopi prophecy of their people. And the Hopi prophecy, the white mythos, I mean the white buffalo mythos is dealing with a Hopi prophecy, and that introduces the Hopi prophecy is talking about the return of the red and blue kachina, of which me and Red are thoroughly convinced in our mythos that we play an integral part of, especially as the hero twins in the Mayan mythos, right? That's why when I go to Mexico, they like Snoop Dogg and that's my family down there. But yeah, you know, this is my imaginarium. So I wholeheartedly believe these things, and I allow myself permission, you feel me, to engage my mind in these mythos. And I'm always amazed that what the universe kicks back in my direction. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, the Kansas part was interesting because nobody speaks about Kansas like that. That
Right.
so
Yeah.
many of our people went to Kansas and attempted to open up Kansas as the space for us, and we didn't do it under the we wasn't slaves being marched there in chains. You know what I'm saying? We went there on our own free will and volition, but we opened it up. And Kansas is the heartland of America. We're not in Kansas no more, Dorothy. Why they don't tell us about our history in Kansas? But that's where the Chiefs is at, right? So what happens right away after the Super Bowl? And I don't want to do this as a tangent, but our hashtag was "There will be blood." You know, and I keep saying I've been saying that since 2020 when the Chiefs was in the first Super Bowl. When I see all that red, because I know what that red signifies. That's Aries. That's the number 44. But we are in Aquarius season, which is 44. So automatically they get the parade hit up and the lady to get hit. She's 44 years old, right? But her name is Lisa Lopez, just like Left Eye. But Left Eye messed with Andre Rison, who played for the Chiefs. And Left Eye's back in the news now because it's Suge Knight, who wears all red. And they said that the person that did the thing, he was 44 years old as well. That's what they said at first. Then they said it was two children. But at first, the reports came out. So why would there be that connection? Anyway, again, like I said, I always appreciate the opportunity. When you put the call out, I know that I'm about to go and deep dive and find out something that is going to edify our existence as a people. And these are the parts that we need to take back, because we are engulfed in an identity war, right? We're people that are suffering, right? We got brand damage, and that brand damage is based on
Brand, you ain't say brain damage. He said brand. Oh, Blue man. Whoa, wow, you killed it tonight. Yeah, somebody said this
right?
was so educational. Yeah, wow.
Brand damage, and the brand damage is based on our image, right? We have a tarnished image, and our tarnished image is based on the fact that we so fucking dope. We so dope till we dopes about it. Like, we're so dope that we're doped up and don't know how dope we are, and that's dangerous, right? That you could be so dope and have so much history, because the majority of history that I just spoke about is melanated, what's considered to be Black American history. Here we are in Black History Month. Ain't nobody ever taught me this. Ain't nobody brought this up. And it's a plethora of information that I hit on that we could still go deep diving further into. There's so many different lanes that I'm like, yo, we need to do a better job at looking at the greatness within us in the last 100 and 200 years. The things the vainglorious things that we have done in this country, we need to speak more about that with one another about. We need to edify the name of these ancestors that did these things, who were trailblazers and forebearers. We getting caught up in 3,000, 5,000. Was my people here when the ships came? Fuck, hey, look, who was the people that opened up Kansas? Who was the people that asked people, do you know a name of a proprietor of business in Tulsa so you can edify their name? Like, why are we not deep diving into their history? How did they become mavericks of industry? And you telling me that they was barefoot ex-slaves that got marched here barefoot from Mississippi and Georgia, but they turned around and created multi-million-dollar businesses, and we don't have plaques in their name. We don't have monuments built for them. America doesn't, not just us. They are the greatest American story ever, bar none. But now, once again, like I said, traveling around the country, now I'm seeing the migrant population. I'm seeing it. Like I said, I was in Mexico and I came back. I just walked through the border. Like, yeah, I showed them my ID, but I didn't go through nothing. Like, I was just in and out. And when I was on the train on Amtrak, I saw people hopping over the border, but they didn't have to, because the fence ends at the fence ends, you know what I'm saying? Like, right over there, you can walk around it. You don't gotta hop nothing. They're lying to the people. This shit is not protected whatsoever. So we seeing an influx, right, of people coming to these borders, and they're migrants making migrations. We're looking at our narrative all over again, almost. People are coming here and they're looking for work. When we were migrating, we were looking for work. What are we looking for today? I'll leave it at that.
Indeed. Hey, Blue man, I want to thank you for your like I said, your presentation was absolutely amazing, brother. You've been on fire this year. The last show you did with Dot, you did an amazing job. I think this is a good year for you. The 44. I think this
Look,
this is going to be an amazing year for Blue.
Hold on. Shout out to my brother Black Dot once again for giving me the opportunity to share the stage with him and Nicholas Brooklyn. Shout out to Nicholas Brooklyn for giving me the opportunity to stand on that stage in Brooklyn. And shout out to the people who came out in the standing room only, sold out event to watch a monumental demonstration from myself and Black Dot. We beat them Black and Blue in a good way. We introduced a new way to deliver lectures. I introduced a comic book to tell. I did a lecture with a comic book, and I told the Black myth story. It was called a hip hop hero journey. And
Right.
yeah, man, I forayed into a new territory because I want to get into comic book making and movie making now. And now that
Dope.
OpenAI has the Sora technology coming out where we could do text to video, I'm very excited about our ability to take these mythos, these narratives, these stories, these ideas, and animate them and illustrate them. Because it's really about the babies. I really want them to see the strength in these characters so they could see the strength in themselves. I have so much faith in these children, that I'm seeing that are so excited about this information. The children, there was a lot of children that came to the lecture and they absorbed it. Them people that tell you the questions them children was asking me, I had to be like, yo, I had to take one child's number to be like, I gotta get back with you on that because
Wow.
he
Wow.
cooked me with a question that I could not just give him like a momentary answer just to sound like I was deep. I was like, I need to like sit down and really think about that and get back in contact with you.
Mm.
They were really engaged. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, these opportunities, I'm very thankful for them. And when I'm called upon, I have to deliver. Thank you. Shout out to your audience. Shout out to the Black Magic family. All right.
Indeed. I'm sure they was out there. Before we leave, family, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're gonna leave with Chief featuring
Yeah.
Cam and Black Magic. This track this track is called this track is from Cambot. It's called Everybody's Not a Chief. And what's so
Yes.
funny, I remember when the brother made it. This is on the album. The album is going to be released
Yeah, yeah. Let
March
them know that.
9th.
Watch them.
March
Right.
9th.
Streaming service.
I'm gonna give a big I'm gonna have a show where I'm gonna let everybody know about the party and everything we having in Atlanta is going down March 9th. I'll let y'all know that. Give me a couple of days and I'm gonna let everybody know that. But I remember when Cam Bada made this track in the studio, this particular song called Chief, and we was just listening to the beat. And I remember Cam Bada asked me, he was like, "What does this song make you think of?" And I said, I said a big stepper. I said, like I'm a big stepper. He said, big stepper. He said, all right. He said, all right, I'm gonna say chief. I said, it make me think of chief. I said, yeah, let's go with chief. And he
Yeah.
created the whole
You
rhyme
build it
scheme
from that. Yeah, yeah.
around
Crazy.
chief. So yeah, shout out to the brother
Shout out to
Cam Bada.
Bada.
This is off Holy Ghost 3. And hold up.
Let's get it.
Oh man, I ain't even hold up. Blue, give them let me cue this the right way. Talk to the people for about 3 minutes and
Yes.
let me get this together.
Again, family. So just got back from AZ, an amazing journey. Got a great cachet of gems. We're gonna be debuting not only gems, we got some of this indigenous drip and cloth as well, right? Meeting with some, and this was such a prominent trip to signal what was to come, even in the Super Bowl, because you know the indigenous people, the indigenous artisans was so deep. And what I really saw in this trip, bar none, is that they have retained their information through mythos, but they translate their mythos through art. And the artisans take that art and they make jewelry out of it. So a lot of the jewelry that we were able to acquire and to come into contact with is these people telling their mythos. You know what I'm saying? Which to me gives it even more significance because there's cultural significance to it. And these forays into these venues give us the opportunity to build bridge and have cultural exchange. And I see myself in more so in an indigenous person in their society than I do in the colonizer in his society. And we've been spending way too much time attempting to fit into and identify with the colonizer society. And it's just based on lies. I mean, there's just nothing left that we can then there's nothing left that we can help to do for him to bring him to his truth other than, you know what I'm saying? You got to walk away at some point and just let this thing play itself out, right? And this uprising of indigenous energy that is across the planet, you know, I think that it's something that's very healthy because it's restorative. You know what I mean? These people are concerned with restoring the relationship that they have back with this planet. You know what I'm saying? And again, as even in a biblical sense, if we were given dominion over these kingdoms, we were not given domination over them. That's the difference that we have with how we deal with the tenets of Christianity based on how Christendom is dealing with the tenets of what they consider to be Christianity, right? As they rev up the engines and they're going to be throwing a lot of red meat to their red base, which is the country base, gearing up for this election. They're going to be speaking all about this country and who loves this country and how you show up for this country if you love it. You know, my question to you is, how are you showing up for this country if you love it? How do you express your love for this country? Because you got to separate the Americas from people that you consider to be American, which is also a misnomer, right? So what's your relationship with the land like? What's your relationship with the land mass, with this country, with this continent? This is a beautiful place, and it's plentiful and it's abundant and it gives, right? And you should receive with an open hand and not confuse the land with the man. There's a difference. God bless America.
All right, y'all. Let's go. Let's get to this track, Chiefs. Cambada and Black Magic. It's going down March 9th, family.
Shout out to the chiefs of the land.
Everybody not a chief. Every chief is not a king. Every king is not the kind of king that guarantees the king is gonna eat. Everybody gain a 5, most of 85, they are not elite. In the presence of a chief, you should never speak. I'ma make you leak like an unreleased song got released. Are you the shepherd of the sheep? Are you the slave of the master? Or the Drake, little bit of each? Every man is a male, but a male ain't a man if he weak. And if good leaders are in danger, then the great leaders are extinct. I think I got it down pat. In my home, I'm the captain and the chief. If I tell you jump, you better leave. Spud Web Dominique. Got the tomahawk playing duck, goose in a room full of geese. And if I'm the owner of the property, then you the tenant renting on the lease. Everybody not a chief. Every chief is not a king. Every king is not the kind of king that guarantees the king is gonna eat. Everybody gain a 5, most of 85, they are not elite. And if everybody in the tribe trying to be the guy, you will be deceased. Everybody not a chief. Every chief is not a king. Every king is not the kind of king that guarantees the king is gonna eat. Everybody gain a 5, most of 85, they are not elite. When you in the presence of a chief, you should never speak, or your blood will leak like an unreleased song I release. If you understand me, say capiche. I could turn the predator to prey. I got a congregation full of priests. I'm the godfather of the mafia, mob deep. I'm the head nigga in charge, HNICQB. I inherited the world, make a million, never been me. Was a dream chaser at the dream chase, used to go to sleep wearing cleats. Being poor made me into a rich man on the wave. When you bring the bread up to my dough, figures will increase like an added yeast. Seen the money turn a brother to a leech. Sticker make a pussy quick. I might bring a vegan queen to me, singing Ronald Isley in between the sheets. A dollar bill inside my bank account is like a grain of sand on the beach. I'ma make money, spend money, make it back, rent, why, and repeat. Everybody not a chief. Every chief is not a king. Every king is not the kind of king that guarantees the king is gonna eat. Everybody gain a 5, most of 85, they are not elite. And if everybody in the tribe trying to be the guy, you will be deceased. Everybody not a chief. Every chief is not a king. Every king is not the kind of king that guarantees the king is gonna eat. Everybody gain a 5, most of 85, they are not elite. When you in the presence of a chief, you should never speak, or your blood will leak like an unreleased song I release.
Yo, Blue, Cam said, I think I got it down pat. In my home, I'm the captain and the chief. Now, Pat Mahomes is the captain and he plays for the Chiefs. Yo, come on, bro. Like I said, Cam said, are you the slave or the master? Maybe Drake, a little bit of each. Because Drake is half black and half white, y'all. Who says this? Who comes up with this shit? Drake is half black, half white. So, Cam, like, are you the slave or the master? Maybe Drake, a little bit of each. Come on, man. Like,
a little bit of each.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Shout out to Cam Bada. Yeah, March 9th is going down in Atlanta. I'm gonna have more news on that soon. Other than that, like I said, once again, Blue, you've been doing your thing this year, Blue. It's being noticed. Keep up the amazing work, my brother. And I'll call you tomorrow to talk about the knife and everything else that I want to
Right.
talk to you about, brother.
Real quick,
But
just want to leave
yeah,
you with this website.
yes, sir.
Family, I have new items. We got this amazing sneaker line. Uh
Oh,
yeah, these joints. You know, that
that,
indigenous drip.
take it out the
Huh?
plastic. Take it out the plastic. That's fire.
Yeah. They got a, like I said,
Oh,
it's just not enough to just, we got this indigenous drip coming for
Blue
the
man,
family,
come
you know.
on, man. That's
So
fire.
yeah,
Come on.
we got flavor. We got flavor.
You got different ones?
So cosmicdust.com. I just want to leave the family with that website so they can start hitting up the joint, getting some of your joints. All of this is
Oh,
all handcrafted, embroidered, and weaved into.
my lady would like that one. My lady would
Yeah,
like that one right there.
okay,
I
this is
like
all
both.
embroidery. Again,
Yeah.
from indigenous people. You know what I'm saying? From our people that are out here, these indigenous amazing people who they want to castigate and call them pagans and yo, them people is inferior. Yo, them is the dopest people on the planet
Mm,
because the way that they make use of things, the way that they're able to capture their culture and put it in their art, the way that they still have open and pure hearts regardless of what's been done to them. That's why I don't buy into the trauma bonding because I'm like, I'm meeting people who have been there, they've been decimated. A lot has been taken from them, but they have not lost their morality, they have not lost their dignity, and they never let go of their ancestors. You know what I'm
D.
saying? So we gotta salute them. Cosmicdust.com, COZMIKDUST.com. That's how you spell it. COZMIKDUST.com. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yo, Blue, real quick, what's the March 9th? I'm having it at what's the name of that spot?
Is it
The brother
640
Brill.
Cafe?
The brother Brill.
Oh, Industry ATL.
Industry ATL. Yeah, for those who
Yeah.
before, if you want to know ahead of time before I make the official announcement, it's at it's Industry ATL. That's where we're gonna be at on March 9th. Industry ATL. All right, family. We're gonna be there. The venue opens up at 8. It closes at 1. We're starting at 8, closes at 1. We're opening up with a drumming ceremony from
Mm.
Dr. B. Dr. B Serious will open up with a
Ooh,
yeah, with a, we calling it a
ooh.
golden age drumming ceremony. He's bringing in this new paradigm. We paradigm shifting on March 9th. Shout out to Biggie. One of the I think my personal opinion, everybody has their opinion. I think Blue froze, but shout out to Biggie. I think he's definitely in my top 2 lyricists of all time. I don't know if he's my favorite. I'm not going to say it's debatable with him and one other dude. I'm not going to say the other gentleman's name, but I think there's a 90% chance I think Big is my favorite lyricist ever in hip hop. So shout out to that spirit who incarnated down here. His what he said, my mom's mixed me with Jamaican rum and whiskey. What he
Rum
said?
and whiskey. What a set
Jamaican.
off. Should have pushed me dead off. Push the lead off. Cause in this world I'm dead off. Spit. Last bit.
Oh, his
Ain't no
flow.
shook hands and brook hands. Army fatigues bring fatigues. The enemies. Look, man, they want to see me locked up, shot up.
Bro,
Mom's
the dude.
crossed up over the casket, screaming bastards, crying. No, my friends is lying. Y'all know who killed them, filled them with the Rugers from the Lugers of the deserts. Dying ain't the shit, but it's pleasant. Quite quiet. Watch my niggas bring the riot. Giving cats the opposites to diet. You gained 30 pounds when you died. No lie. Lazy eye. I was high when it hit me. Took a come on, son.
Bro, the dude's flow,
That's just the
y'all.
beginning. And he didn't write it. They're saying that this is coming off of the noggin in the booth.
Bro,
So a
godly.
3-year run has
Just 3 years.
crystallized. Yeah, just 3 years has crystallized this person into our consciousness where however many 30 plus years we're still speaking about the marvel of his rhymes and we're just now coming out of his dream. And like I
Yeah.
said, because the Haley Bob Comet is coming back this year and he died when the Haley Bob Comet was passing on March 9th,
Uh-oh.
1997, we're going to see a lot of BIG energy back in the news all year. It already started with dude in Vegas that had the BIG shirt that jumped on the judge. We seen Gene Deal talking about Big again, right? I'm telling you that case is going to crack open this year. You're gonna see Big going crazy this year. Mark my word, it's a pillar prophecy, and we already got receipts.
Shout out to
All right,
the soul. Yeah, Biggie. With that note, Blue, I'm gonna see you, my brother family. Thanks for tuning in. We out of here. Peace.
Hey.